Is your salon layout costing you money or making you money? Hi, I am Kayla Swanson, and I'm your host of High Performance Salon Academy's Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. And today I have a lucky opportunity to have Leslie Groves on the podcast with me. What's up, Leslie? How are
Hey,
you?
Kayla, I'm great. So good to be here with you.
I am so excited to have on just because at personal level, Leslie, I adore you and it's been so fun to
Oh,
work alongside you. And I think you're just
thank
such a
you.
sweet
You
presence
too.
in the industry. So those of you who are listening, you're in for a treat today. Leslie has a lot of experience in the industry. Today we're talking about the layout of your salon and as if it's making you money or costing you money. We were having a conversation before we went live on this podcast. And I realized even for me, there's so many things that I don't even know that goes into like just the layout and the intentionality of how is your salon laid out? When do you upgrade your chairs? When is it time to invest in a whole new structure? So that's the conversation that we're having today. So I was like,
Yeah.
definitely have to bring on Leslie, have that conversation. Leslie is the sales and design territory manager for Collins. And Leslie, I'm going to have you start it off. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about how you got into this industry. We'd love to know, who is Leslie Groves?
Okay. Well, thank you. I've been in the industry since 1992. I actually
Long time.
started as an esthetician and I worked for about 10 years in salons doing skincare back when it wasn't as exciting as it is today doing skincare.
Yeah.
So I quickly learned that I have more of a business mind and I needed to adjust. So I went to work for manufacturers and distributors. And at the time, I was a customer service rep for a distributor, and the owner saw something in me, and she sold furniture, so she brought me in under her wing. And I learned a little bit about furniture, and then I moved to Denver, Colorado, and went to work for a company called Peel's Salon Services. And
Wow.
they needed a furniture manager, and I knew more than anybody else in the building, so they offered me the job. And I worked for them for 15 years and really got really sunk in, and learned a lot about design and more about that part of our industry. I'd worked in a lot of salons, but it's a different animal, when
Yeah.
you're helping people open a salon. So then I went on to open my own company. My husband and I did that together. We represented 15 different manufacturers of furniture, and we
Wow.
ran that together for 10 years, and that was really awesome. I learned a lot. And then he decided to retire. So I really looked at, do I want to do this alone? And I didn't. I realized I didn't want to do it alone. And when I looked at our book of business, probably 85% minimum of our sales was coming from one company. I was purchasing Collins furniture on a regular basis because of their values. They just aligned
Yeah.
so great with mine. And so we started the conversation about what it would look like for me to work with them. And it's been since the beginning of this year. And I just feel like I made such a great move. The impact that I can have is larger. I have a full company behind me now, and I'm
Mm.
not out there doing this alone. So it's been really
Yeah.
great.
Oh man, Leslie, that's so special. And what a cool journey that you got to go on, the opportunities that you've gotten to have. And for those of
Yeah.
you listening, what's special about Leslie is, yeah, that like her heart behind it. And it's like we have many clients who've gotten to work with Leslie one on one to just redesign, upgrade, whatever it looks like. And she just in herself is just a great person to work with. So, Leslie, thank you for jumping on today to have this conversation. I
My
don't know
pleasure.
if many people who are listening even realize how much your salon could be costing you money by not maximizing your space, utilizing that, or even like if you're not getting the right quality of product and it's not lasting as long, then again, you're just wasting money on what you're buying, how you're using it, the layout of your salon. So there's so much to have. So let's get into that. So today
Okay.
we're talking about the layout in your salon. So first, I want to kind of start at the top of like, what are some really important key components as you've worked with furniture for many years? What are some key components or like in just when looking at a salon for any kind of in a general sense, like what are some key components as you're kind of working with how you're going to put in furniture or even upgrading things like that? What are some key things to look for or that you have seen in the industry over time?
Sure. I've seen a lot change in the industry. First
Good.
would be quality of furniture. There's a lot out there now that is online that you don't have anybody to work with. You just order it, it gets delivered to you. You probably have to do a lot of assembling of the different items. and you don't know what quality you're getting. So I think that's number one. Our industry is becoming more and more sustainable, and sometimes I lovingly call some of that furniture disposable. And none of us want that. We don't want something that only lasts for a year and then we have to throw it away and rebuy. So
Literally.
I think quality is super important, and making the right investments and working with somebody who can help you look at your budget and then find the best pieces to fit that budget.
Mm.
And then secondly, right now I've been having a lot of conversations with people about their square footage, and maybe they've been open for 10 or 15 years and areas they've had allocated for certain services aren't really profitable anymore, right? We kind of get stuck in our own rut. And for example, there's quite a few salons that still have a lot of nail areas, and the trend in the industry has really been for nail salons to open separately, and not every hair salon has a nail table and pedicure unit in it like it did 15 or 20 years ago when I started designing salons. So recently I've been taking a look at kind of the square footage, what is allocated for that service, talking to the salon owner about what percentage of your revenue is coming from that. And does that make sense? Does it make sense for you to still have that much space allocated to something? And it may not be nails, it could be other things, but
Yeah.
does it make sense to take a look at that and how you could bring in new services, or perhaps you need another hair station, or recently, one salon owner did a color bar out in the open area of her salon, bring it out of the break room. And what that does is really bring the attention of your clientele who's not getting a lot of color, brings that service into full view. So they're like, oh, this isn't as easy as opening a box of color and mixing it and throwing it on my hair at home, right?
Yeah.
So it
Yes.
increases your revenue that way. So every square inch is either making you money or it's costing you money. And so what we like to do when we start planning a salon is really maximizing the square footage, making sure we don't have wasted square footage, and then also talking to people about how they intend to use their space so that they're designing it correctly from the beginning.
Yeah. Wow. Man, I love what you just said. And if you haven't caught on yet, like we're not necessarily talking about like, I mean, making sure your salon is beautiful and on brand and like cohesive. Like that is a really huge part of it. But we're going a step further past that. And it's like the intentionality of what you're choosing, how you're choosing, what do you want? Because so imagine like having somebody come in and be like, this is my dream, this is what I want to have done. And then coming in and actually making that happen to maximize the space that you're utilizing. So
Mhm.
those of you who are listening, if you have like a space in your salon and you can think of right now, like, oh yeah, I was doing these services because at one point they were hot and popping and we were thriving there. But now, yeah, we're not getting as much as those services, or there's a new service that you want to introduce into your salon, but where do you put it? How do you fit it in? And those kinds of questions. That's what I love, Leslie, about like what you get to offer is you can come in and you have that knowledge of like, and you've done so many, you've remodeled so many different salons, you've added furniture, added space, mini remodels, so many different things where it's like, this is what works, this is what hasn't worked. And you can look at like, where's the area? What is your book of business? Who are the people who are coming into your salon? How can you add the value to them
Yeah.
and have
Has
a
your
well-rounded
clientele
view?
changed over time? Are they aging? Do you need to bring in different treatments? Like the head spa right now is so big, and women are experiencing a lot of hair thinning. So you can look at maybe what used to be a waxing room that is sitting empty much of the time, and can that be reconfigured to put in a head spa or make it more of a multi-purpose so that you can do anti-aging treatments. And
Mm.
there's a lot of things that you can do without spending a ton of money
Yeah. Isn't
within
that
the
wild to think
salon.
about?
I mean, you can go crazy, and I'm happy to help you do that too. If you want to start all over, we can do that. But where it really is valuable is to take a look. Maybe you don't need to move. Maybe
Yeah.
you don't need to expand. Maybe you just need to look at where you are and figure out a way to use your space better.
Man. Wow. Okay, see that in itself, that's a good point. So when you begin these, like, I want to make sure that people who either have remodeled in the past, or maybe they haven't, or like you just said, like maybe they're like, oh, am I like, I'm busting at the seams? Am I getting another location? Am I getting a bigger location? What it looks like when you have those consultations and you have those conversations, what kind of questions are you even looking at for people who are considering, or even after listening to this and now they're considering and being like, oh, man, maybe that's me. What are some really important questions or things to look at when you begin this process?
Ready to transform your business and improve your salon's profitability? With Lonza's 3-in-1 technology and intermixable shades, your hair color inventory is streamlined with limitless creativity behind the chair. Click the link below to unveil the secret to salon success.
I think number one is, have you maxed out your space? Have you used it? Do you truly not have anywhere to expand? And then, is your landlord being helpful? Are they renewing your lease? Are they giving you some money to remodel? And sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes your space has just gotten old and you'd have to put too much money into it to bring it up to date. So then it's a wise idea to look at either moving to a newer location, maybe a better location within your city, or even being able to purchase, and make that step to purchase your own building and own the real estate. So that would be the ultimate, I would think, for most people. So that would be one avenue. And then the other is, are you still attracting stylists? Are you still relevant within your city? And are you still on trend so that younger, newer stylists want to come work for you? Or do you really need to revamp to up your image?
Wow, that's a good point too, because I know we've had a lot of conversations on the podcast about bringing in the new generation and like having that balance between older generation or a seasoned stylist for the new ones that are coming in. And it's like, like every salon, they're all competing. If you have like 3 salons in your area or more, or maybe it's less and you're lucky there, but like, are you a salon that's attracting the people that people want to work there? It's like, oh man, like that version of that is like very, very old, and I can tell by how I look at it, or that's really worn down because, you want to hire, even if you hire a seasoned stylist, they're like, well, I want to bring my book of business over here, but like, it's just not up to, like, it's just, I want to get to a place where it feels that refreshing. It feels cohesive. It feels like, your people go to salons to get away and to have that rejuvenation and to, get like, it's their me time. Right. And so they want to be in a space that they feel like that is accommodated, or they want to feel like, man, this is a retreat in and of itself. In this little 4-wall building, I feel like I'm in a different space. And it is like that kind of, like, I love what you just said about like, who's your avatar? Who are the people who are walking in your doors? And does your salon fit that? And it's okay. Like if you've been in business for 10, 15 years, it's okay. Like re-looking at that is a really important step to even be like, okay, well, let's have this consultation. Let's look at that. And maybe it's a mini, shift. Maybe it's a small adjustment, or maybe it is time to start looking at like, what would a revamp look like? How much would it cost, and be working towards that? Leslie, what would you say to those kind of conversations that people are kind of looking at it, be like, yes, this is what we should or should not do?
Well, I used to teach a class at trade shows called Customer Eyes, and this is a really great starting point for salon owners who need to get maybe a reality check on what their space is. You sit outside your salon one day when you're not open, and you take off your glasses and you put on your customer glasses because they see things that you don't see. We get used to our spaces, right? Yes. We don't see the hair that has been in the corner for a couple of weeks now, right? We just don't. It's even like in our own office, we don't see all the facts around us that other people would see. So start out by, what would it feel like if you were a new client coming to your salon for the first time, or a new stylist walking in for an interview? Is it someplace that you would want to be? Is the light? How's the lighting? How does it smell when you walk in? How are your paint colors? Is it fresh and on trend, or is it older and, need a revamp? Would you want to work there if you were coming for the first time? So I think that's a good exercise to start with. And then a lot of it just has to, you've got to dive into your numbers. Does it make sense? Could you be more profitable if you move? Could you be more profitable if you revamp where you are and add in new services? Most salons would say, yes, I could definitely revamp and add in some new things, right? So I think this is a good exercise for everyone. Is there a little corner in your salon that's not being utilized right now? Do you have hair stations that maybe you don't have staff to fill all of them? And that space we could look at and see what else you could bring in there.
Wow, I love that. It's a big conversation if you're listening to this around are you getting come down to, are you getting the most profit out of each square footage in your salon? And even if you have I have this huge retail space and I just absolutely love it, I put it in when I first started, but is it bringing in money? Or be like, okay, well, do we condense that down? There's just so many questions to look at to here's the space, here are the numbers. And so there's a little bit of mix, like, yeah, I can design my own space and I'm really creative and things like that. But do you know like the stats? Do you know like, here's what we need to look at? And so where the foot traffic in, how much, what areas in your salon is actually bringing in money? Is the services, are you able to hire people to fill the chairs, or is there more estheticians around? Can you put in different services and hire those people to come in? And so asking yourself those questions of where you're at right now, do you have that potential, and opening those conversations and with yourself, or even like getting experts? I know people like, oh, but I can do that on my own. And yes, you absolutely can. But the power and the value that comes with even having a consultation or getting somebody who is an expert in the field to be able to ask you those questions that you haven't otherwise thought of, a new perspective that you're like, oh, wow, I didn't even think of that, or the possibilities, because you're going to be thinking, like, oh, I'd love to do this one thing. And somebody else could be like, well, or you could do these 5 things. And then you can choose from what you want to accomplish, which is what I love, and the value that you bring, Leslie. And you know what's possible. Like, I have 5 ideas for that corner, rather than like somebody's going to be like, well, I want to do this one thing in that corner. You're like, well, here's 5 things that I think you could do.
Are you ready to increase your retention and revenue and convert website traffic to clients? Then you're ready for Maya. Maya creates better business relationships by pairing the right clients with the right beauty professionals. Use promo code HPSA for your first 2 months free. Visit joinmaya.com to get started.
Yeah, I had a great conversation with a stylist this week who's opening her own salon, and she told me I need to put in 6 styling chairs, and then I want 6 chairs where we're going to apply our color. And then I need 2 rooms for spa and lashes and head spa. And I need 2 stations for barber. And I said, okay, so let's talk about this color stylist cutting thing. So if we're putting in 12 chairs, essentially 6 of those are being used for something that you could use the other 6 chairs for. Does that make sense? So we're doubling the amount of space that you are allocating to cutting and coloring. And we went through how she does her process, and there was no reason to do it that way. So I said, okay, so with the space you have to work with, what that means is we're going to have to eliminate something. There's a compromise. You don't have room for everything. So do we want to lose 2 of the rooms? Do we want to lose the barber and a room? And so she was very quick. She sat there and she said, nope, we can go down to 2 color chairs. Okay, that I think I can make work, but you just have to train yourself to think differently. And it takes somebody to ask the questions, to ask the right questions, just like any expert. That's why we always hire experts for things that we're not great at, so they know which questions to ask and get us thinking on a different train of thought.
Yeah. Dang. Wow. I love that. That's such a good point of just bringing that too, where there's just not things like you can't be an expert in everything, and you have a lot on your plate. So if you had somebody who can come in and be like, if you can come in and add value and add profit to my salon, that's a good day right there.
That's a very good day indeed.
Exactly. Leslie, I'd love to know, like, in the industry, as you've seen, people listen to this podcast from all over, where they've been in the industry for a year, multiple years, wanting to start out in the industry, in designing your salon. Like, is there layout techniques, or is there things that you have noticed that like these are like do's and don'ts, or things to be mindful of if people have certain things in their salon that they're like, oh, this isn't a good flow? Do you have those kinds of things?
Yeah, there are definitely rules of thumb that we use in designing, like how much space do you need between each chair? What kind of space does it take to have a shampoo area where you're set up for the bowls that you shampoo behind or the bowls that you shampoo to the side? Even architects a lot of times don't know all of the rules and the way that our industry needs to work, and how we have to flow, and how clients are going to move from this part of the salon, and everybody's going to come over here for a while, then they're going to go over there, and then they're coming back here, and those pathways need to be open and clear. So there are definitely rules that we look at, and immediately can look at a floor plan and go, no, this is not going to work the way you want it. This is not going to feel good to anybody in the space, whether it's a stylist or a client. So for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's because I'm a visual person too. And I'm like, I just need to see it first, but you can't always see it first. So when you guys are designing, like, tell me about the process for you specifically. Like, what can that look like, so people kind of get a little taste of like when they're working with you, what does it look like how can they see the layout? Like what kind of tools do you guys utilize to be able to get it to where they want to be before you even start production?
Sure. So when we're doing a full remodel or a new design for you, we start by getting all of the information from blueprints or measurements that you send us, and then we actually use 3D design software. So we put your salon on our computer program, and then we can pop it up and show it to you in 3D and do a little walkthrough so you can see how it feels. And it's so powerful. When I started doing that a few years ago, people's minds were blown, because now all of a sudden you can see color. I mean, we are visual in this industry, so you can see
so much
different colors on your walls. You can see color of furniture. You can see just the space and the flow and how it's all going to work, and why, and more importantly, I think, why something won't work.
Yes.
So, sometimes we get stuck in needing or wanting something, but then when you show it to somebody in 3D, they go, oh yeah, you're right. Nobody would be able to work there. It might not be worth having 10 stations if you have to scrunch them all in, where 9 you could spread out and keep them full, right? But we get stubborn and think that we can do things that we can't do. And it's very evident when you look at it on a 3D rendering. It becomes very useful information.
Yeah.
Are you still guessing what your color services are actually costing you? Guessing the cost of your services is eating into your profits. With Salon Scale, you can separate your parts from your labor and charge for every drop of color used. Stop letting your back bar drain your earnings. Click the link in the description to get 10% off of your first year, or start your free trial today. Salon Scale. Profit starts with every mix.
Yeah, because then you like design your salon and you're just like, well, it's in theory like, oh, but we'll make it work. But you give, 10 years working in that condition for a long time. Like you're, like Leslie said earlier, like you want the longevity. You don't want something that you can buy off Amazon and get it and use it for a year. You want something that's going to grow with you and look of quality for years to come. So you're not forced into a remodel because everything's breaking down. You can choose it when it's capitalized.
To remodel when your furniture is breaking down. We don't want that to happen. And the reason that I sold Collins for so long and so much of it was just because of the quality of their furniture. The materials that we use are unlike other people in the industry. Are the wood. Let's take a styling chair, for example, because I really look at styling chairs and shampoo units as being tools of our trade. If we don't have those, if they're not working properly, then, stylists can't do their jobs properly, or ergonomically their bodies hurt. So a few of the things that make the furniture that I sell a little bit different than other that you can find online is that for our chairs, we use high quality vinyls that are 37 ounces. That's a really heavy duty vinyl. You don't need to know the ounces, but that's just, trust me, it's heavy duty. We also use 3/4 inch plywood on our seats. Other companies use 1/2 inch. So our seats are going to, be just firmer and last longer. Also the foam. I don't know if you've ever been in a salon where you see that the vinyl starts to puddle in the middle of a chair.
Yeah.
So that happens because the vinyl rubs on the foam. And so what we do is use a protective layer between the two so that the vinyl doesn't break down over time. It just lasts longer. So it's just little things that being a family-owned company, we really think about. Salons are family-owned, right? So we want to make sure that we're taking care of our clients. So that's something to think about for chairs. And then cabinetry, you want to make sure that the wood the company is using is water resistant, like around shampoo bowls. Again, 3/4 inch thick, high quality laminates. The worst thing that you can do is spend a lot of money on a package of furniture and then 2 or 3 years later have to reinvest, right? It's that whole sustainable thing we talked about before.
Yeah. And even you get a whole package of them, then only one thing breaks. Like it's think smarter, not harder. Like sometimes like doing, but this is the cheaper route, but like, but longevity wise, like, is it going to last you as long as you need it to, or the wear and tear, how many people are in your chair? Like people are up and down of those chairs constantly throughout the day on a daily basis. And this, they just get a lot, and like, I love what you said earlier about like, be mindful of the longevity of the stylist using the furniture and like their bodies and standing and all of those things, and being mindful of that. I love this conversation, and I hope as you're listening, you're getting a lot of value out of just like looking at your space, and one, for the profit, one, how are you looking at like when you remodel or when you upgrade, when you change a space, like what are the questions that you're asking? What are the things that you're that you are pursuing in that and are being intentional for longevity of your profit, of your salon being a profit center. You know, we are huge advocates for making the most money, because if you're not making a profit, you honestly have a hobby. And so making sure that your salon feels like a space of like, it's one thing to be pretty. It's a whole nother thing to knowing that every square footage of your salon is making you money, in terms of even like having services that you're no longer using. You're like, yeah, but we get like 3 a week. That's got to be valuable to some degree. But what if you put a new service and you get 100 a week, or being able to evolve and to change and allow your salon to evolve with you? And we have many clients in the academy who've done remodels, who've done upgrades, who've utilized space and changed, like, and maybe it's only a small section of your salon that you want to just look at and be like, am I wasting space here? Or is this something that I just really, really want, rather than like, man, per the avatar, per the people who are coming in here, per the people that I want to hire, thinking about all those questions. I love that it all kind of came up today of just, yeah, for not only hiring, but the people you want to walk through your salon. Or is your salon a place that people want to be, people want to work at, people want to stay at? Because, you know, if they want to stay there and the environment is clean, then they'll get more services, because again, they're coming there to have some me time, and making sure that your salon has that value for them will keep them coming, you know? And like, I love what you said, Leslie, earlier about sit out in the parking lot and put on your glasses as a client yourself and walk in. Would you want to be there? Is your decorations on the shelf collecting dust? Are they, you know, there's all those things. Like Jason talks a lot about Suggestopedia, and like everything suggests something. So if you just look at the details, look at the nicks and crannies of like, you know, somebody's sitting in the waiting room, like, what are you going to do? But look around and check out every little thing and pick up on all the dust particles that are just everywhere and floating. That stuff matters. How you feel, you know, like you want to walk into your grandma's old house, or you want to walk into a fresh salon where you feel
Right.
taken care of.
Right.
And so that's huge.
Yeah, it's very subconscious, but it's so powerful.
Yeah. Nice, man. Well, Leslie, this has been such a great conversation. I would love to, as we kind of wrapping up here, what are some like closing things of, yeah, like you've mentioned a lot of things to think of, things that like do's and don'ts. Like, what are some really important aspects that you have really seen that would be some value to people as they're even thinking wherever they're at in their salon?
Opening a new salon or remodeling? Feeling overwhelmed? We've got you. At Collins, we custom build salon equipment made just for you in Tennessee, with local reps and designers to guide you from layout to delivery. Explore at collins.co/HPSA.
You know, I think whether you're starting out brand new in the industry, buying one chair because you're going into a salon suite, if you're opening your own salon, if you're wherever you are, use an experienced person to help you find the best quality furniture that you can afford. I think that's really important. It can be a single chair, it can be a full-on salon, but don't just risk it and order something online that you're going to have you may have issues with. So, one thing that I would love people to know is people like me or the Collins Company. There's several designers that work for us. We are willing to work with you wherever you are in your stage in the industry. Mm-hmm. So don't get intimidated thinking that you have to have a full salon to call somebody and ask questions and get their experience.
Yeah. And I love what you just said, and we hadn't touched on it yet. So I'm glad that you said it, of like, even in a place that you can afford, like people like, well, I'm not even making a profit now, I can't even like think about that. Don't be afraid. Like you just said, don't be afraid to even ask the questions to even know, because there might be, you might realize like, oh, that's not as much as that isn't as big of a jump as I thought it was. Right. And so working with like, what is your budget? And then we can work within that to even like, okay, well, we can't upgrade all of that within this budget, but we can do this, this, and this. Because again, making those tweaks to get that profit to then be able to afford the bigger lift or be before the change, or even having those steps like, okay, I know your big vision and the long-term remodel, vision, but let's do these steps in this order to do what you can afford now to work you towards being able to afford the whole thing or wherever you're at. So if you're sitting in here, you're listening, you're like, yeah, funny, I can't afford any of that. Like Leslie just said, just call and ask the questions. Just call and say like, hey, I would love to just know, like, here's my salon layout. Like, would you just tell me where could I go? So you even have it. So like, man, that is such a good point to have that knowledge in your brain so you can make decisions from facts rather than just thoughts of like, what if, oh, it's not. I know a lot of times we get afraid of like, that's too much money. I'm not even go down that path because I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, have knowledge, have the facts, and then make the decision on whether or not you can afford it.
Right. Make a plan.
Nice.
Make a plan to move forward. Yeah. One way or another, a little bit at a time, or one large bite, right?
Right. Because you're talking about profit on the table. I mean, there's just knowing your options is always a valuable thing. Leslie, this has
Absolutely.
been such a special conversation. Thank you for jumping on with me. That in the description, there is a note. If you want more information from Collins, you can text the number in the description. We can give you that. There also is their website link in the description. Check them out. Collins is such a great company. Leslie specifically, I have such a soft spot. I mean, such a special place in my heart for her. She's been in our space for a while now. And yeah, I highly recommend just having a conversation with her. She's very knowledgeable. And thank you for spending your time with us today, Leslie. This has been really great.
My pleasure. Thank you, Kayla.
Yes. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. I am your host, Kayla Swanson, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a review, and check us out at ProfitableSalon.com for more episodes, content, and to help you turn your salon into the business you've always dreamt of.